No cursing from here on out.
All right.
All right,
Um,
go ahead.
so I've been on Tesla insurance ever since it was introduced in Utah. I got my 3 and my Y on it, and I like it a lot because I have like young drivers, and they don't get charged any more than I do, which is huge. But there's one thing that um is a pain in the butt. We get forward collision warnings all the time. If there's a car on the side of the street, it just thinks you're going to hit it. Um, Happens consistently, and it ends up, it's cost me hundreds of dollars over the year, probably, and it's completely Tesla's fault. It's really frustrating. So I'm trying to like get something done, but you call them and they don't do anything. It's like I don't know, but like when I posted something, a lot of people. Really?
Sorry, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I'm trying to figure something out on YouTube.
Do you
I
want
don't
me to
think
wait?
YouTube has I don't think YouTube has voice. Sound, I mean. Oh wait, hold on. Can everybody hear me? Hello,
Yep.
hello. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna be back.
Keep going, Lincoln.
Can you hear me? Perfect. All right, let's keep going. Sorry about that. So stupid.
I just got a phone call. I gotta go in my car. I'm gonna switch over to LTE. I'm not sure if I'll switch, so give me a minute.
All right, Nick, why don't you tell us about 12.3.4?
Yeah, I was actually just driving it, and you remember how I said it wouldn't go out of the HOV lane? It After about 30 seconds with the signal on it, it got out. And I was looking at the screen. It appeared that it thought like it was like dotted coming up, like not a solid white line, but dotted white. Because I saw it, but it was solid white and it crossed it. So that was kind of cool.
So
Maybe
it's
a
doing it now.
neural net,
It's figured it out now, huh?
perhaps. I don't know. It did it, but
All right, good. Sounds like you have some guests with you. Say hi.
oh
Say
yeah,
hi.
the
Say hi to the guests.
so yeah, yeah. Everett's just got circumcised.
No way. Hey,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
thanks for sharing with the space. Tesla, do you find that information material to your investment thesis in Tesla?
Everything could be material if you spin it in the right way.
He's the future.
The feature is circumcised. Oh my gosh. Simon.
Hi, Yaman. I just posted that quote. So we've got a Cybertruck in Australia. Quite big surprise to me. Tesla's brought it out. They've put a temporary rego on it for 12 months. So expect to see some promos with the big rock in the background, etc.
Nice. That's great. We are in chill mode, people. Chill mode, which means no hands. Feel free to come up. Just try not to curse and talk about Tesla. I'm not going to be moderating too much. So welcome to come up. Talk about anything you would like.
What do you think about the stock? That do you think it was this morning? He sold it off this morning with that big dip.
Yeah, Drew Baglino. I don't know, but I think large. Yeah, it could be a dark pool transaction, obviously, but large transactions like that in the open market that are usually kind of sold throughout the day with smaller orders. So who knows, right? Who knows? Doesn't matter. It would be about 1% of the daily volume. So it's
Why
not
do you
that
think
big.
he would sell it all?
Man, it's not. I don't think like this. These things. It's not good to speculate. It's focused on the facts. He sold a lot of shares, so could be so many reasons. But it's definitely not because he's expecting the stock to triple. That's not the reason. I can tell you that much. Anyway, what do you think?
I don't know. Perhaps he just, with Tesla being so volatile, like he just might want it all out in the cash and maybe he's starting his own thing. Let the speculation begin.
Yeah, what do you think is going to start?
He's going to start his own powertrain business.
But he doesn't. He doesn't. He wasn't powertrain, right? Isn't that Lars?
No, let me double check.
I thought Drew was involved with the 4680 batteries.
Yeah, and Tesla Energy.
Correct. So he sold all his shares, or just did he have more than that?
Former SVP of powertrain and energy. That's his on his X
Okay.
on his X profile.
So you think he's going to do motors?
Yeah, he'll start his own business, and you know the OEMs are going to need a better powertrain.
Nothing can save the OEMs. They're gone. I mean, Tesla could have sold them powertrain. Like, why do you need to go start your own business to do it?
Why not?
And he
Because you're competing with Tesla by the yeah, you're competing exactly non-compete.
Yeah, true. You have the non-compete.
Didn't they get rid of the non-compete? Somewhere I heard there was going to be a law where they weren't allowed to do non-compete anymore.
Got it. I got that. All right, who wants to come up? Just hang out on the board. Hanging out is fine. We're in chill mode. I'm not going to kick you down. I can yell at you. Simon, no hands mode. No hands.
Just want to make sure. Sometimes there's technical things, and I'd like to put my hand up just in case someone's already speaking. But Drew said he was leaving for family reasons, and I think selling his more than 1 million shares at whatever price he got is going to give him plenty of time to spend as much time as he wants with his family. And why would he want to go into another high pressure startup business after 7 years with Tesla?
I did say he won't be sitting for too long, though.
Yeah,
Said
agreed.
something like, knowing me, I probably won't sit for too long on this. So I don't know.
Hey, Yaman. About the non-compete, Drew's been there since back when they were based out of California. So I don't think there's non-competes in California.
I didn't know that. California doesn't have non-compete.
Correct. And
Now,
actually,
yeah.
FTC announces rules banning non-competes. This was just 2 days ago. Today, FTC issued final rule to promote competition by banning non-compete nationwide, protecting the fundamental freedom of workers to change jobs, increase innovation, and fostering new business formation.
Does that count for? Oh wow, Thomas, thank you very much. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Thomas just tipped very generously on X, guys. All right. Andrea, no hands mode. Just try not to dominate the conversation. Andrea?
Oh, I thought you were telling me to hold short. I was holding my hand up. What did you
No,
say?
I
My
said no
Bluetooth
hands
like
mode.
shot out right when you spoke.
No
What
hands
was it?
mode.
What did you say, Yaman?
No hands.
Oh, no hands? You're doing no hands. I mean, I'm in the wrong room. Are we Yaman weekend, Yaman?
This is
I'm gonna hold my hand up because I'm afraid of you. Now
That's
you
so
now
funny.
you made me forget what I was gonna fucking say. I mean,
No, you
effing
can't
say.
curse. No, you can't curse. We're on YouTube.
Machine.
No cursing. Oh, that lasted 2 seconds. Well, who was reading the FTC or that they just did away with non? I mean, that doesn't apply to contracts that were in place, right?
it's going forward, Yaman.
Yeah. So Drew still can compete.
I would say no because he was based out of California, right? Because he's been there for so long, he had to be based out of California.
But let me ask you this: do you think he will compete with Tesla?
At some point, perhaps, but maybe he will take some time off.
And he would be competing on what? Just powertrain? Is that
I
the
mean,
theory?
I would think that he would go, to Redwood, possibly, because he was not. I don't know if he was overseeing powertrain, but I met the guy that was overseeing powertrain, and it wasn't Drew. I forgot the guy's name, but it was. I saw him at a investor day last year.
Right. Yeah, I've never heard of Drew talking about powertrain. And powertrain obviously includes battery and everything, but it doesn't include. I mean, it's motors and battery when you say powertrain. But I don't think
Correct.
he had anything to do with drivetrain, meaning just the motors and the right,
Right. That's my understanding as well.
right, right. I want to bring Andrea up, but can't curse. So let's give it a try. What do you guys think? Should I give it a try? I really want this to work. Really want to have her on the board. Andrea, so
I
please
have a
don't curse.
question. I'm not going to use the F word. You guys know that Yaman has this recording on his other platforms as
Yeah,
well.
YouTube.
Okay. What do you want? What do you all expect from the second quarter? Let's just go to the second quarter. What do you all expect in production and manufacturing? Not sales, not stock, just in production and manufacturing in the second quarter. What would you like to see? Thank you.
Well, I have a coffee bet already with Michael. and he bets that it's going to be year over year up, but I just don't see it. With production deliveries, I go by Troy's estimates.
No, I'm asking specifically like what products and production and manufacturing you would like to see happen with the second quarter that we're going into. That's my question for anyone here. Thank you.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I'd like to see Cybertruck hit 2,000 a week.
I was gonna say the same thing, like lots and lots of Cybertruck.
Because the waiting list is really high right now for that. So don't we need to do something about that?
If human-driven rideshare comes out from Tesla, the prices of cars are going to go up because people are going to want to start buying these cars to use on the network. That's my prediction. And
that's not
Tesla
in the
will have to
second
raise
quarter.
prices.
Not in the second quarter, though.
You
I
don't
mean,
think they
should
can
we
roll
focus
that
on
out sooner?
Robotaxi or like the Cybertruck waiting list is my question, because Robotaxi seems to have a lot of logistics involved with like changing the brand from, you know, what's going on with Lyft and Uber, and that's another topic. But I'm asking like, what do you guys want to see in production and manufacturing going into the second quarter is my question. I mean, thank you guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Thank you. I mean, person.
All right, second chance, you're out. Yeah, this is really sad. Like I'm really trying.
If she's from Jersey, I mean, she can't help it. It's it's a Jersey thing. Yeah,
No, that's not an excuse. I lived in Philadelphia for 18 years. Just disrespectful. That's what it is. I mean, 2,000 is a pretty low bar, don't you think? What do you guys think? I mean, I guess I don't think we have any evidence that they're at 1,000 smooth. So if they get to 2,000 to 2,500 by the end of the quarter, that's a massive success, and that would be in line with previous production ramps.
Well, what's your most optimistic view of where they could be? What run rate could they hit in Q2?
I think they're demand limited right now. Not Cybertruck, obviously, but everything else.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
And until nags come off FSD, so until nags come off, I don't think FSD is gonna drive demand for vehicles. So it's just a question. But TSLA, that's why I want to hear more about FSD to TSLA.
Sorry, I missed the question.
How is FSD doing for you? Because I've been getting mixed reviews. Like some people are saying I don't get a disengagement for a week, 2 weeks. Some people are like, I got 3 disengagements on my ride. So it's the same pattern of extreme positivity at the beginning, and then you start kind of getting these negative reviews a few days later.
I think what happens is the software changes so much from one to the next that people are so ecstatic about it, and then they start nitpicking slowly about the certain things that might still happen or things that might be different. Like, for instance, this one issue that I had where I'd have to turn right and an immediate left, but there's like this train station sign on the ground, and the car would never get in the right lane. Well, now it does, and now it does it every time, which is awesome. However, now it doesn't go into my alley to get into my house, which is something totally new. So it fixed one issue, but then there's another issue that just creeped up all of a sudden. So maybe people are seeing some good things and then being nitpicky. But with me, with Ubering, I use it a lot, but I'm also stepping on the accelerator a lot too to make it more seamless for the passenger in the back. Like stopping at a stop sign, it still stops a little too far back for my comfort, so it's kind of lingering at the stop sign. So maybe people are just being more picky now that it's getting much better.
Hmm. You know, some people are saying, Kazali, that Uber Lyft stocks sold off in the last few weeks because of Elon's Robotaxi unveil tweet. What do you think?
I mean, it could have, but I mean, look at some of the other stock. A lot of stocks sold off today. Even the market in general, except for Tesla, sold off. So it could just be coincidence, but yeah, some people might think they'll have their own network. So it could be could be. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say exactly because some people like Gary Black thinks that Tesla and Uber should partner. So maybe the stock should have gone up because of that, but who knows?
Well, I was kind of asking more. I'm asking you because not because of your stock market expertise, but because you're an Uber driver and you're in touch with other Uber drivers and you're part of these Facebook groups and everything. What's the feeling like? And also you obviously interact with a lot of customers. What's the feeling like towards robotaxis?
Mostly positive, I would say. A lot of people are shocked at how well it does. For instance, there was a man yesterday I had from South Africa, actually. And he's like, "Oh yeah, Elon's, he's from South Africa too, and we have a lot of respect for him." And so I showed him the self-driving, and he was just blown away. He took a video, and we talked the whole time about it. So funny. He actually told me he loved me at the end because, he took a video to show his mom, and we talked about, hey, you can, your parents, they're probably a little older, they can use this at night or times where they might feel uncomfortable driving. They can use this as an assistance. And so he was just super impressed. And a lot of people I show are mostly positive about it after we start having conversations, saying how revolutionary it could potentially be. It could save so many lives. 44,000 people die every year in the United States from traffic accidents that happen mostly from human errors. And if you could cut that out, of course. So, we talk a lot about that. And most people, if they didn't really know before, I try to send them away on a positive aspect of what it could do potentially. So I think if Tesla opens their network, a lot of people might switch from Uber to the Tesla network. Especially me thinking, I plan to possibly buy more cars and have the people that, I have a couple of people that rent my cars out hourly to drive for Uber. And once the Tesla network opens up, they're going to switch with me because it would be insane not to. You have the Tesla insurance, everything is vertically integrated. So why wouldn't you switch and have everything in one basket? Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, Simon.
one thing I would really like to see this quarter, and I have to confess, Yarman, I owe you a coffee bet because we had a bet on the number of Model 3s at the end of quarter one, and I had 70,000 or left. You had more. I'll go on James Stevenson's number. It was about 90,000, so I was well under. And the next one is, this is to do with FSD. Sorry, it's a little bit on the edge. Whether we'll see any cyber cabs coming out of Giga Texas stored undercover in the car park, because they're going to need something to unveil on the 8th for the 8th, so they can't wait until the following quarter to get line started. And obviously then you've got cyber cabs ready for the FSD that you're discussing now. Thanks.
So this is chill mode, no hands. I try not to kick people off unless they curse. You can't curse because we're on YouTube. And so kind of just wait until somebody's done. You know, just the usual adulting, be respectful. Because I don't want to moderate. I just want to listen.
Well, I just had one thing to say regarding the Uber and the Lyft and the Tesla reception. I drive over in San Antonio, Texas. I'm not from San Antonio, but I drive here. Been driving for the past year, and I could say, and I keep my opinions to myself because these people are rating us, and it's the exact opposite of what was just described by TSLA over here in San Antonio. Just so everyone can get a better scope of how Tesla's being received. It's not so good over here in San Antonio. And like I said, I don't say anything about it, but just want to say that regarding Lyft and Uber. I don't see many Teslas out here, so I can't really comment on how well they do. I don't know anyone who drives them, but I could say the passengers are not fans of Elon.
In what way would you say it's bad? Just that they're not fans of Elon? Because I get a lot of people. I'm in San Diego. I get a lot of people that come here from for conventions. A lot of people actually from the Texas area, Houston, Austin, Dallas, and they all are pretty good fans of Elon. I mean, at least to where they don't have anything negative to say. I would think so. Yeah, can you give me an example of what you came across?
Yeah, no, I mean, it could just be a Tesla coming across us as we're driving, and one of them will say something, and it always goes back to Elon, and they don't agree with Elon. We never even get to the hardware or the competitors, unfortunately. And I'm not a fan of Tesla, but in your case, it's unfortunate they just don't like Elon. They know Elon, they don't know anything else really, and that's where the conversation usually ends.
And what percentage of people would you say that if they talk about Elon, it's negative?
So he doesn't come up on every ride or anything like that, but on the few, I mean, not the few, but in the instances that it does, um, it's they don't like him because I guess how vocal he is on Twitter and his views, whether they be Republican, Democrat, or birth rate or any of that stuff. It's getting, you know, it's interfering with the actual Tesla goal and all that, in my opinion, from what I see driving.
That's pretty shocking because I see a complete 180 of what you said. 95% of the people that talk about Elon are at least indifferent about him, I would say. And if it's not indifferent, it's usually a positive, like, oh, I love Elon, or, we think he's doing great for free speech. And a lot of them are from Texas, actually. So yeah, that really surprises me. And, I try to be neutral as well because I have a 5-star rating and I like to keep it that way. So I try to stay neutral about most things. And if they
Did he cut off for you guys?
did I cut off?
Yeah. That's okay. Let's go to ACDC.
I had a quick question for the two moderators. I mean, not the moderators, but two Uber operators. Are there any limitations that you guys see that you guys do that a Robotaxi would not be able to do? Something that came to my mind was like, what happens like in between rides? Like, are you guys kind of tidying things up, in the car? And what happens like when, and how often when someone leaves a personal belonging behind or something of that sort?
I could say the one area where I think a Robotaxi would struggle is when all the clubs and the bars get out at 2 a.m. Some cities have strips of bars and stuff, and trying to navigate crowds, getting out at 2 a.m. to find your fare, it's a little bit difficult. It's going to be more on the customer to locate the Robotaxi versus the Robotaxi to locate the customer. That's one area I think it's going to struggle at.
Hopefully you guys can hear me now. But I thought about that. And if you have a fleet of robotaxis, does it really matter which one is yours? Like you just take the first one that's there and it will match you up with whatever is closest to you based on your phone as a key, let's say, because when I have my phone as a key as a Tesla, I walk up to the car and it automatically unlocks. Well, how come you can do the same thing with a robotaxi? You walk up to it, it unlocks the one that's yours and you take it. So it's kind of like a first come, first serve basis rather than like what we have now with a human waiting for your exact specific Honda Accord or Nissan or whatever it may be. So if they're all the same cars, you're just picking the first Model 3 that shows up.
Wouldn't that violate the medallion rules?
I think the medallion rules only apply in New York City or any other city that participates, but it doesn't apply with Uber and Lyft, I don't think.
Oh, because they don't catch, random people. They go on based on specific, order.
I'd say that
request.
the idea sounds great, but when you look at the app that they put in their shareholder deck, that doesn't. It shows like the car is 3 minutes away. Now that might be different for like a large event, perhaps, but yeah, just the app shows different the imaging.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of a large crowd, 3 a.m. getting out of the bars or getting out of, let's say, here at Petco Park where they play baseball. There's going to be a huge crowd. So why couldn't you just have a lineup of cars in the first I don't know what medallion thing is. We don't have that in California, I don't think. So that could be a good way to get around it is just first come, first serve. If you're up close to it, that's the one you get, takes off, and that makes it more efficient as well.
I think that can also be solved with, within the app with geolocation and stuff and pinpoint locations, pointing to them to the right one. And maybe even the car gives off like flashing lights or something to point, indicate when you approach the car or something. But like, what about the physical limitations? Like I said, like, how often or how dirty do the cars get from? And then of course, it probably depends from customer to customer and day to day, but is that something that you spend a lot of time on that would be a limitation to the Robotaxi?
So living in Southern California, we have pretty decent weather. So I can probably go 3 days, maybe 4 at the most, of not having to clean my car. I might have to vacuum out the floor in the back seat once every 2 days, maybe. So I can go several days.
I think he's referring more to like the trash left behind by passengers and whether or not they would actually leave stuff behind if there's no one there watching them, as opposed to us sitting in the driver's seat.
Okay, so let's say someone leaves their phone. That happens often. Um, you would just have to tell somehow the Tesla app, either you'd get on a computer or you'd use your friend's phone or whoever and say, hey, I left my phone or I left an object. Okay, it's autonomous. It'll just come it'll just come back and you can get your stuff. I don't see a
No,
big deal with that.
no, I agree. I think what he's referring to is Robotaxi will just say completes fare one. Fare those customers leave a bunch of trash. He goes immediately to fare two. So now when those customers get in, all that trash is still in there from the previous customers because there was no one to intervene and clean it because you're not going to be cleaning it between. I don't know. I think that's what he was getting at.
Okay, so you have the camera inside. All right. Right now, we're using cameras outside to detect objects. We can detect dirt that's in the road. We can detect the pothole. We can detect, cones. Okay, so you use the cameras inside and you detect trash. If there's a certain amount of trash, you detect what it is, and then maybe it heads back to your your hub, and then somebody cleans it and you charge the passenger, whoever did it. You charge them or you de-rank them a little bit. So maybe next time I only want 5-star riders, and so I won't get that person again. Or you can say, hey, you left trash. Is it something you want? There's different ways. We have to start thinking about these things when the car is autonomous. There's a camera that can act like eyes that does the exact same thing we do. You just have to train it. So it might take a while.
Or the next passenger can get in, take a picture, and then they'll give them a credit if they take care of the trash, and then they'll recharge it to the other person that left it, perhaps.
Exactly.
That's a great idea. So passengers
can
would
you repeat
discover
it?
trash.
Can you repeat the great idea, Nick?
Can
Oh,
I repeat the
basically,
great
he
idea?
suggests
Yeah,
yes.
so you have a Uber Lyft, a passenger goes in there, they leave a mess, and the next passenger gets in, takes a picture of it, says, oh, there's a big mess here. Tesla app confirms it and says, hey, do us a favor and clean it up, and we'll give you a $10 discount, and then on your next ride to get you coming the next time. And then, they deduct it from the passenger one that went in there first.
Interesting. What if the passenger one comes back and says, I didn't do that. He took a picture of it, of a trash that he put in there.
Or you got to take pictures before and after, like you do for the scooters or bikes. You take a
Mm-hmm.
picture before you get in, or a picture after the back seat, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a rear cabin camera would definitely be needed on the robotaxis. And then they could do that. They could take a picture before every ride and after the ride. So that's kind of like included in your receipt, maybe even for the ride. And actually, with the rear cabin camera, you could also have like an object identification thing. That if somebody does leave, let's say, a phone behind, and if it catches that, it'll alert the customer before even getting out or completing the ride that you're leaving something behind.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
didn't Tesla have some kind of patent or some kind of the cabin camera inside can detect if there's a baby in the back seat? Why can't they do that instead of having the customer have to take a picture?
You,
The only thing
you
I
only have
can
so much
think of,
visibility into
yeah,
the
that's
back
the only
seat.
thing I can think of. But if this infrared or whatever camera they put in there can go through objects, maybe it can go through the seats and see what's on the ground.
No way.
Or you just have a rear cabin camera.
Seems too easy.
Nick, what do you think they're gonna unveil on 8.8?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's going to be spicy. I think it's going to. It's been a long time coming since like a new unveiling of something. So I think it's going to be really good. They're going to announce. There's going to be something else at the end, um, and I think it's going to be. They're going to be showing like a video of like the Robotaxi in service, and then they're gonna announce, "Hey, it's already working in X, Y, and Z." Like we're already using it in X, Y, and Z. So I think it's gonna be an event that everyone's mind's gonna get blown because it's already in use.
What do
What
you guys
about you?
think? Just a hardware unveil and maybe start production in a few months, then ramp it throughout the following year, the usual. What does the rest of the board think? Did the garden house get a chance to speak?
Hello, am I on?
Yep.
Okay. Hello from Norway. I guess one of the most successful countries to adopt electric cars. If that's okay to talk about, you want to know something about Norway?
Yeah, I love Norway.
Oh,
I've never
nice.
been, but just the fact that they're so EV friendly, Tesla friendly. I actually wrote about Norway in one of my Seeking Alpha articles about 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's one of my favorite. Did a lot of research on the country.
okay, you probably know most of it, but I can tell you why I bought electric car and how Norway got to this. Actually, 82% electric cars on the new cars sold in 2023. So that's really high. And actually, when I see a car that's not electric car, I get like surprised now. It's that new car. And how it started was a lot of incentives here. There was no VAT, like 25% of the price just cut right away. And we had free ferries because normally you pay for ferries here. And there was free toll, no road taxes, and we have a annual road tax of about $300-400 just to be able to drive on the roads to get your plates. That was free. And it was free parking in everything like state or the local areas, like not private but state and stuff. That was free, all parking, and separate lanes for electric cars. Actually, it's like if you're two or more persons, they have separate lanes, but also electric cars with one person or whatever could use it. So yeah, that's about it, I think. But and also quite fascinating because Norway is like one of the big countries for oil, and still they push like electric cars. I guess maybe to get down the CO2 because we have to stay within the use of CO2, the release. I also have some anecdotes of family members buying new cars lately, if you want to know. Um, my father was going to buy a new car, and I told my mother about.
Let's break it up over since there are other people raising their hands. So
Okay,
no
sorry.
hands mode, guys. No hand. That's okay. Thanks for coming from Norway. I love that in these evening spaces we get a different crowd from around the world. And what time is it over there? It's pretty late over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 3:30 a.m.
Yeah, what are you doing now? Are you working late shift or what?
No, just I'm actually waiting on a delivery package. It says
All
it
right.
was supposed to be delivered in nighttime. So.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I got you. Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Let's go to Grant, then TSLA, and then no hands mode. Just wait a couple of seconds until after some of this is done.
Yeah, this is completely off topic, but what I wanted to ask the last speaker, what is it that makes Norwegians and Swedes hate each other so much with so much passionate intensity? Those people can't stand each other. Do you have any good like Swede jokes or something like that?
I think he fell asleep. It is 3:30 a.m. Totally, or maybe the package arrived.
So you kind of touched on my question a little bit about the oil and gas industry. Like, what do they think about this transition and it possibly eventually affecting their economy? Because you guys do depend on oil and gas revenue a lot.
Yeah, we have the biggest fund in the world almost, I think, from the oil income. They actually have quite a bit of Tesla, I think, and it's like now it's like really left leaning, a bit woke, if I can say that. It's they are forcing, like, it's a bit stupid because other countries would maybe like milk this oil thing and really go for it even more, but we are going more and more left, and so yeah, it's a bit weird. It's like the right side is really pissed because I'm sorry, because we are not going for the oil more, so it's like yeah, a rivalry there. Yeah.
Would you say most of the people charge their EVs at home or public charging? And what's the difference between the cost of like home charging and public charging there?
Most people, there's a lot of houses here, not so much apartments, and yeah, so usually people charge at home. I guess most of the people buying cars have a house, and but there's not much solar here. It's just and actually the price of electricity has gone up a lot lately, and that's a real big issue here, because they have put new cables for power to Germany and England or Scotland, I'm not sure. So the price of power has really gone up in Norway. There was usually it was like yeah, I'm not sure how much that is in dollars, but yeah, the price has been like between 5 and 10 times in winter and stuff. Usually, what they used to be. So people are really pissed and really annoyed about those cables going out of the country, because we produce so much electricity from clean electricity from water and windmills also. So yeah, the price has been going up. Still, it's a bit pricey on the fast chargers, actually. Yeah.
Grant asked a question for you. What is it with the Norwegians and the Swedes? Where does that rivalry come from? Mr. Garden House.
I think that's a no comment.
They hate each other. He can't even speak when he's prompted with a question about the Swedes. He gets so mad.
Really?
He's like snapping a pencil in his hand right now.
Leave it to Grant to find the only thing that he could get him worked up over.
Seriously. Wow, Grant. Good job. Grant, there was a question the other day.
Did someone ask me a question?
Yeah.
In case I didn't hear it in that case.
where does the rivalry between Swedes and Norwegians come from? All right, Mr. Norwegian. This is so weird. It's creeping me out. Good job. Let's talk some Tesla. You guys want to talk some Tesla? Grant, there was a question the other day about you. Steven asked, is there a bear school that these bears go to spin everything that's negative? Did you go to school? Bear school?
Just an elite college.
Yeah? Did you go to Cornell?
No, Cornell's a joke. I mean, I did go to a good school. I wouldn't actually call Cornell a joke. I'm not actually a prick, but I mean, I think a lot of bears are highly educated and work actual Wall Street type jobs.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to, is Grant your real name?
No, this is a non-account.
That's so funny.
Grant, are you bullish on any stocks right now?
Yeah, I mean, I follow a lot of tech, but that's been so macro driven. It's gotten annoying as of late. The one stock I've invested in Celsius a while ago, but I actually really like Lifetime Fitness. They went IPO with a PE backer a few years ago. It's been a deleveraging story. They have it's like an interesting business because it has a lot of operating leverage, not unlike a software company, high fixed costs, low variable costs. And I mean, they had a pricing story coming out of the pandemic where they were just really juicing margins. They were adversely affected by the increase in interest rates, but I'm a member of Lifetime. I think it's a great product. I think it aligns well with wellness. They also are doing a lot to kind of develop a lifetime living sort of brand where you can just live in a building that has a gym and a daycare, and it's almost like a weird WeWork thing, but it drives a lot of value for consumers, and I like Lifetime Fitness. That's my single biggest position outside of like anything else. I do a lot of indexes. I'm pretty lazy.
Do you even lift,
Bro, yeah, I go in the middle of the day because I have to ask everyone else to put their weights down so I can put them all in my barbell if I want to get benching.
What do you bench?
I mean, really, however many plates I can secure typically. So it's not even a number. I measure it more in like, whether or not I can tell everyone else to just
you
get
are
the fuck
supply
out.
limited. Your
Yeah.
benching is supply limited. Just like Tesla Cybertruck. What do you think of the Cybertruck demand? It's out of the wazoo.
I don't know. I mean, they don't talk about how much of the initial order, backlog they've burned through. I think anyone being honest will say it hasn't gone great, right? I mean, is anyone out there saying like, yeah, they totally crushed it?
Well, it depends on when you start the clock for production starts. So, if you started from June of last year when they first put out that first prototype, and I think they said first unit or something, they tweeted out, then obviously it's been like 9 months to get to 1,000 a week. I mean, that's worse than the original Model 3. Maybe Michael knows. Michael, what do you think?
What's that? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
What are you doing on the speaker board now if you're not paying attention?
You invited me to the speaker board, and I accepted your invite, and then I had a sidebar.
It's a call to action, my invites.
Okay. I'll accept your call to action if you just clarify what we're asking for here.
Didn't you say you weren't going to yell at people, Yaman?
Yeah, the headline is chill mode, so I'm not sure what's going on here.
Trust me, that was not yelling.
Yeah, exactly. No, we were just talking about the Cybertruck production ramp and what your thoughts are. Where do you think it's going?
I mean, they're at 1,000 a week. That's pretty good. And that's like, I don't know. Maybe we should compare it to like the F-150 ramp or the Rivian R1T ramp. I think where they are right now is pretty good considering, you know, I wouldn't count it from. I think I heard something about pilot production in June. I wouldn't count it from that. I mean, that was just I would count it from like customer deliveries. That's when you start the clock, really.
Great point. So if you started from there, then it's doing really well, despite all the headlines and the drama and everything. That's a great point, Michael. Thank you very much for providing that insight, and I'm going to use that in my articles from now on. Grant.
Yeah, I'm always just really skeptical with a lot of the stats that Tesla puts out. So, I mean, maybe they had a single week of 1,000K or, 1,000 Cybertrucks being produced. But I think 4 months ago, I said that if they produced or delivered more than 50K in 2024, I would shave my head. And I'm willing to stand by that. So, do you guys actually think they're going to make 50K of these things this year? Because I don't.
Dylan?
I feel like I could see that. I could see the ramp going extremely fast, like really soon. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Q2 it was like 3,000, 4,000 a week.
Well, what was Q1 like? 3,000 total.
We can tell by the recall that happened maybe like 2 weeks ago. They're at, I think, around 3,800. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
But
and
that
maybe
includes
some in December.
December.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big spike. That's like a 50, whatever the number is, 15x spike.
Yeah, I mean, the only guidance that we do have is Elon said that we wouldn't like, they're only going to be about 250. Yaman's going to actually, I'm not going to say it because Yaman will kick me off if I misquote Elon, but it was something along the lines of 250,000 is where they're looking to do. Ramp by that amount by December, by the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't believe it, but that's just me.
So, but I could see them doing at least 75 to 100,000 this year. Just like with the demand, just like even on X, there's a lot of folks here that still haven't even gotten, including myself, haven't gotten the email yet.
I think of the 3,800 they've produced, I've seen 38 of them getting towed in some form on Twitter, which means it's probably double that in real life. It seems like a very poor product launch in my mind. You guys are entitled to disagree, obviously, but it doesn't seem like it's going well, regardless of how you cut it, in my mind.
Well, Sandy Munro liked it pretty well, right?
Sandy, I mean, that guy's like a weird spirit animal of Tesla fans. I don't know what his deal is.
We turned him into a bull.
He did. He did turn
He got around Yaman and Omar, and he's a bull.
Do you know how many?
That's what's going to happen to you too, Grant, if you stick around.
I would I would jump off a bridge before I let it happen.
Please don't jump. Life is worth it, Grant.
I'm good.
Tesla Ted is requesting to speak. But the fact is, first of all, I mean, the board is full, but secondly, we are on YouTube. And Tesla Ted yesterday, I don't know if you guys listened to last night's X-Space, like every other word, F-bombs, and this is like the quickest demonetization right here, coming up. Tesla Ted, we can't do F-bombs tonight, okay? No F-bombs tonight.
Don't worry, I'm on chill mode, but I have a question. I just joined. I don't know who Grant is, but so you're a Tesla bear?
Yeah.
Cool. So a genuine question. What's the bear thesis based on?
It's a couple things. If I try to keep it super high level. I think the original reason I became a bear was that I felt like Elon was making a lot of commitments that he was failing to deliver on. I mean, you know, a million robotaxis on the road in 2020, just a lot of stuff along those lines that made me cynical. I'm a naturally cynical person. And I think more recently and more tangibly, they haven't refreshed this lineup in any real way in a long time. They've been cutting price to try to compensate for that, and it's not gone well. I mean, it's not gone well at all. They had less deliveries this year than they did last year. That was at a lower price point per unit. None of those problems get better in Q2 because they announced a Robotaxi that will come at some TBD point in the future. I think the business is in a rough spot.
So, just out of curiosity, what do you drive?
Hold on 1
B,
second. Just 1 second.
yeah.
Grant, your bear argument is so weak. It's so weak. You need to do better.
I
That's
thought this
actually
was chill mode, bro. Man.
It is, but this guy's bear argument is just so bad. Like, and
well.
I can't give you some data points. Okay, as I'm reading through the SEC 10Q filing.
No, but I
I'll
mean,
give you.
I actually have not. So let me be clear, because yeah, I think you could get more in the weeds, and occasionally I'll dig into
No,
the
no, dude.
10K,
All you gotta
10Q.
say. But let me ask you this: pop quiz. Okay, chill mode pop quiz. Are you ready?
Sure.
No googling. No googling.
Don't worry about it.
What was Tesla's last 12-month free cash flow?
I don't know.
Why? How do you not know? How do you not? This is your
I'll guess.
bear
I
case.
guess like last 12 months. I mean, I think it was like -2.5. I'm gonna guess it was like 5 billion.
1 billion.
Yeah, that's bad.
That should be your number one point in the bear case.
But I mean, it's not. That's not going to convince anyone though, because the Bears don't care about free cash flow over the last 12 months. Or sorry, the Bulls could give
The
less.
Bulls don't. Right. Oh, you call yourself. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, any bull who bases, well, any investor who's worth anything, that bases their thesis on current numbers is not really an investor. But going back to it, my question is really this: like, are you like pretty well tuned into the general auto market? That's my first question. And my second question is, who do you think is doing the cars right now? Like, not even just EVs, but just cars in general. And the reason why I'm asking you this is you kind of sound like a more intelligent bear than the ones that I see on X. So I'm genuinely trying to get perspective.
That's fine. I mean, that's the reason I'm here too. I will say that I think I in the past had been a really salty, just like these idiots, you know, like kind of mean spirited person on X with Tesla bulls. But it's been nice to chat and try to at least understand the other side's perspectives, right? You know, I'm not like an auto industry expert, but I do understand that typically the auto industry trades at much lower multiples. It's a tough business. It's super capital intensive, super cyclical, you know, very much at the mercy of things like macro interest rate policy, all the above. So there are a lot of reasons it's not a great industry to be investing in, which makes the fact that Tesla is in that industry, but is trading the way that a lot of tech companies wish they would, all the more insane in my mind. Um, in terms of who's doing it well now, I mean, I also I think a part of my thesis was that Tesla was the first mover in the space. If you wanted an EV, if you wanted a nice EV 4 years ago, you bought a Tesla because it was what was available and you paid whatever you had to pay to make it happen. Tesla was also much more nimble during the pandemic when all of the, you know, profitability metrics were starting to spike. I actually have tweets from like 2022 where I'm comparing the Tesla profitability against the profit per car at dealerships, which is not a part of the OEM's business models, but is a part of the value chain in which they participate. If you look at, you know, profit per car for an auto dealership from 2019 to 2022, it's like 3x in 2022 what it was in 2019. Tesla captured that benefit inside of their P&L. Ford didn't, GM didn't, and a lot of people thought this must be because Tesla is the world's greatest automaker ever, and that's not what it was. It was a one-off pandemic, moment in time that's been unwound now, and you can see that in Tesla's results in a way that you can't see it in Ford or GM's results today. So that was interesting. But if I had to buy an EV today, I would probably buy a Hyundai.
Not just an EV, any car. Who's doing cars right?
I don't know. I don't own a car. I live in New York, but
So did I. So did I.
Okay, I'll ask you a question. Toyota doing the hybrids right now. Number one alternative to Teslas, I think.
Hybrids are definitely in. I like the Ioniq 5 or whatever. Like it.
No.
That's the thing.
The
Is
other
like
non-Tesla EVs suck. Tesla, what do you think about that?
It depends on the purpose. It depends on the purpose, and here's the interesting part. So I think in terms of handling, I haven't driven the new P3 yet, but the Taycan is pretty much right there in terms of handling. But you're paying for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Lucid Air, you're paying for it, but man, the steering great. In terms of like family vehicle, the Kia EV9 kind of wins by default because it's the only box on the market. But in terms of like overall EVs, Tesla can't be beat. And the problem that I have with many bears is they claim to value and comp Tesla to automakers, but yet they're not well read on the auto industry. And then the other question, I'm going to throw this at you, Grant, is have you driven an FSD V12? I'm assuming probably not. But that's like that's another layer. But it's like you can't really confidently say the fleet needs a refresh if you're not following the auto market in general. It's just a load of crap. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, and you don't even own a car. That's even worse.
All right.
Well, I do want to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that you need to be an expert in the auto industry to look at the multiples that Tesla trades at versus conventional automakers and say, no, it seems weird. Like, I don't need to actually be reviewing Ford's balance sheet to know that Tesla probably shouldn't be valued at like 10x. I don't know.
No, you gotta value Ford's balance sheet.
But
I
you
think
have to very
a comprehensive review of competitors, the industry players, I think is very important to value a company. But I disagree with Tesla Ted. I don't think you need to drive V12. I don't think you need to know the ins and outs of Lucid. I think a competitor analysis, let's say a Model 3, Model Y comps analysis, requires looking at all the players that a potential buyer picks between. So a Model 3, Model Y, hybrids are definitely there. Like they people definitely look at the hybrids. They think about that. But let's go to Tesla Lead and Tesla Ted.
So just a few quick questions for Grant. The first one is, are you short Tesla?
Yes, I have been. I went short Tesla. I was short Tesla at 240. I closed that out and rolled
Great.
It into puts.
Yeah, I don't need the details, just kind of like a yes or no. And the second one is, the whole time you've been talking about the auto industry and auto this, auto that, is that all you think Tesla is? Because that's a huge difference. If you think Tesla is just an auto manufacturer, then possibly you could be right. But you're not looking at the whole umbrella of what Tesla is. The auto bidder, the energy storage, all those other things, the charging infrastructure that they have. Those are all the businesses that you didn't even talk about. It seems like you're not even considering that in the whole mix of how you evaluate a company.
Well, what is it? 95% automotive revenue? I mean, we can get semantic about what that means, but to me, that means it's a car company.
So you don't think those other industries have a potential to grow any more than what they are right now? So you don't see
No, that's not what I said. I'm just
so you
saying
don't see that Tesla is increasing their charging network, or they're increasing their energy storage. Do you not see any of that? And if you do, why aren't you modeling it out? And if you don't, why aren't you?
Listen. Tesla, why are you getting mad? Why are you getting mad? No need to get
I'm not
mad.
mad
And
at
Grant,
no.
put yourself on mute. All right, sorry, not Tesla. Grant, you gotta put yourself on mute. Tesla, no need to get mad.
No, seriously.
Listen, guys, we cherish our bears. We value our bears. They're here to point to the weaknesses in our arguments. I just want them to be a bit more, like, good about it. Like, number one point right now is let's ask Yoda, Tesla Yoda.
But hold on, just 1 second.
Yeah,
I'm seriously not mad. So I'm seriously curious because if it's something that you see that I'm not seeing, then
I'll tell you the other side. I'll give you bear side on what you're saying. Okay. He is right that 90+% of your profits are coming from automotive business. If you point to superchargers, immaterial. It's so immaterial that Tesla doesn't even break it up, show it on their financial statements. If it was material, they would have to show it. And then you mentioned, what else did you mention, Tesla?
the energy storage, auto bidder.
Yeah. So energy storage, all Grant has to do is point to this interconnect backlog, which is clearly slowing down Tesla's production plans on Megapacks. Okay.
They did
So
say
right
that.
now, like so on Megapack, if you look at Megapacks, year growth near zero on the installations, storage deployed, and your answer to that should be that margins are improving. They've set in the second line up, so it's going to accelerate. And then his response to that is going to be, well, the second line is going to take a year, 2 years to run, and perfect. And then he can also point to CATL's battery and everything. But let's see what Michael has to say and then Tesla Ted.
They did say in the second quarter, maybe this was an underappreciated point, that they expect energy to grow, deployments to grow 75% year over year. So yeah, Q1 sucked because it was only 4% year over year. But the rest of the year is they've always said that it's lumpy because of how those are deployed, and how they recognize them as deployed, and how they recognize the revenue for those. So 75%.
Where did they say 75%? Where is that? What's the exact sentence?
Good question. It was either in the call or in the letter. I'll check now.
Okay, thank you, Tesla Ted.
So I struggle because when the view that you're taking, Grant, is typical of Wall Street analysts and what I call them as keyboard warriors. And I say this from the perspective of somebody who was going to be an M&A investment banker, sitting in freaking interview rooms with managing directors at Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, when they would tell, and the moment I stopped listening and understood, like, I know how to do my research, was they asked me, pitch me a stock. Super classic. This is back in 2000, I think it was like 2008, whatever it was, like a week before they collapsed. And I was like, man, I really love food. I think Chipotle Mexican Grill is dope. And there's so much, this is before like tacos became mainstream and stuff, and go look up CMG on Google Finance from 2009 to now. And for me, it's, you got to understand the product. That's at the base level. You got to understand the product. You got to understand the market, and then you look at the financials and understand how the company operates to protect your investment, right? So like the core is the substance, like the product is the substance. And yes, it's true that Tesla's revenues and profits for now is all auto because, well, that's where we are. We're in this phase. But by the time you wait for everything else to come out, it's too late, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Michael, then Yoda.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll never guess who said the energy storage deployments will grow 75% higher in 2024 from 2023. It was Vaibhav, the CFO, and the exact quote is, it's at the top of it's in his opening comments, and he said, "Just we expect the energy storage deployments for 2024 to grow at least 75% higher than 2023." Those are the exact words. So it's a very high growth business. If you look at like Bloomberg New Energy Finance estimates, they estimate that the energy storage business is going to like 5x by 2030, and they have had to revise their estimates up repeatedly for that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to have to revise this estimate.
Got it.
And so it's a big growth opportunity.
Michael, thank you very much for digging that up for us. Appreciate it very much. Is that for gigawatt hours installed or revenue?
They said deployments, so gigawatt hours installed is
Okay.
my understanding.
So ASP is coming down, correct?
I didn't look quite how much it came down, but I don't recall them cutting prices that much. Well, I can
No,
take a
I
look.
think they're cutting down price on megapacks. So I wouldn't be surprised if revenue growth is less than 75%.
Sure, but the margins are expanding.
Margins are expanding, correct, and I think they will continue to expand. So let's say profit growth of about 100%, right? Is that reasonable to think? Year-over-year profit growth 100%?
100% for this year? Yeah, sure.
There's Ali and then Nick. Oh, sorry, Yoda, there's Ali, then Nick.
Yeah, thanks. I would like to walk everyone here under chill mode through this thing I just posted. Yaman, I was wondering if you can kind of pin this so everyone can see it, and I'll
Yeah,
kind of do
you
a
can pin it
walkthrough.
too. You can pin it too. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Do you know how to do that?
No, I don't.
Oh, I got it. So all you gotta do is kind of just let me find it real quick.
Okay.
Oh, did you post it to your profile? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, see at the bottom right, that kind of outgoing box arrow. You click on that, and then you share post to the space at the top. But I just did that, and for future reference, anyone can do it. Yoda?
Great, thanks. I think it's been difficult to really simplify this, but this is the best way I can kind of illustrate the future. Now, this future does depend on one thing, which is when Tesla FSD reaches unsupervised capability. So this means that no driver is required at the wheel. Now, if and when Tesla reaches this capability, two things is going to happen. They've got two business models. The first business model is very similar to Uber, whereby Tesla will own and operate their own fleet of robotaxis. Now, these can be in the form of the compact two-seaters. It could be larger seat configurations, but the hardware doesn't matter. The idea is that they're going to run a business like Uber, and they're going to deploy cars to areas where demand is larger than supply. And demand is defined by the customer cars in business model number 2 below. Okay. So the first business model is Uber. The second business model is Airbnb. Now, what this means is that customers today own Model 3s and Ys, and customers tomorrow will own 3s and Ys and compact cars. Now, I'm just going to leave Model S and X out of it for a moment. So these are customer-owned cars. Now, much like you own a home today, you may choose to take part of your home, a room, or downstairs, and put that on Airbnb to earn some extra income. So under this business model, a Tesla customer, an owner, can add or subtract their car to the network. And again, this could be done whether it's with the new compact car or the existing fleet of Model 3s and Ys. And so these two business models are going to be simultaneously deployed once FSD reaches unsupervised capabilities, and this will be driving the future growth of Tesla.
Thank you, Yoda. Grant, then Peter.
I forgot my hand was up, but I mean, sure, Tesla's going to have robotaxis. They'll own some of them. They'll let other people plug theirs into a network. I don't know that I could have said it faster, but I get it. Sure.
Okay. Yoda, what's your price per mile assumption, revenue share assumptions? What do you think is most likely here?
Yeah, I think the price per mile is best calculated by deleting today's Uber driver. And so whatever Uber is taking in terms of the platform fee, I believe is roughly 25% or 20%. That amount is sort of the base price of operating the network, running the app, obviously with everything else that they need to run the business. And so if you take today's Uber ride, I don't know what the average is, but let's say it's $20. What is 20% of that? Might be $4 or $5. That would be kind of where I'm thinking. It will approach, and it should approach, public transit pricing. Now, in the U.S., public transit isn't sort of available in all states and cities. But the type of public transit I'm thinking of is things like the subways in New York or in Asia, kind of what's referred to as like MRTs and these sort of very efficient systems.
Thank you, Yoda. We have YouTube going on at the same time, and Tesla Ted, thank you very much for watching your mouth so that this channel is not demonetized. You're doing a great job. I know that earlier you said freaking. I was like, wow. I'm so proud of him. And for those of you who don't know Tesla Ted, he was the first recipient of first ever Rivian, which is amazing. Peter, then Nick. Peter Timbo.
Yes, thanks, Yaman. Tesla Yoda, I like how you're presenting the two different types of business models that Tesla can use. However, technically, Uber and Airbnb are the same thing. They both use, somebody else's product, right? They use the real estate you own, or they use the car you own. Uber doesn't own the cars, right? So I think there's a little bit of a technicality in that how you're comparing those business models. They're essentially the same, right?
Yeah, exactly. The way to think about it is that there are two business models that Tesla is simultaneously deploying. But I understand that Uber, as the platform owner, technically they don't need to own any cars. But the idea is that we're talking about Uber's ride-hailing model and their application, whereby a customer can just hail a robotaxi. The Airbnb side is trying to articulate the fact that the customer can be the owner of the fleet, and that if and when they want to, completely in a flexible way, they can add and subtract their car to the network. So yes, apologies that there's no perfect example, but what this is trying to do is articulate that there's these two, sort of different platform models going on. Yeah, so hopefully that didn't confuse anyone. I understand that Tesla is going to run a robotaxi. These things have been said, but I wanted to sort of lay out in the way that Elon described it on the conference call, which is it's like both running a Uber and an Airbnb business model.
Thank you, Yoda. All right, we have two bears now, Fud News and Grant. And we have Matthew Donegan Ryan as well. Nick?
You trying to skip me, Yemen? I
Never.
thought you weren't moderating today.
I
So
know. I was trying not to moderate, but I finished my gym,
yeah,
so I'm good.
yeah. So imagine if Tesla was able to do a robotaxi and they're able to cut the price, just say 50% of what an Uber is. Do you think that, how quick do you think that adoption would be? Would it be, 1 month, 3 months, a year? How long would that adoption be? That's question number one. For you, Grant, or
Adoption for what? I'm sorry, I don't know if I fully followed.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Just like imagine if like Tesla just opened up tomorrow a robo-taxi network like that's, and just say it cut the price of an Uber or a Lyft by 50%. How quickly do you think that would catch on?
I have no idea. I mean, it's to walk it through, right? It's a function of how many existing owners of vehicles that are eligible to enter the network decide to put their car onto the network. The people I know probably wouldn't do it. I'm sure a lot of people would. So you've got a couple million in the US. Maybe you get like 500K on. I feel like that's kind of optimistic. And then they're competing with, I think Uber's global fleet is like millions and millions of people. I don't know. I mean, it just depends on a lot of things. Like, it's a network effect business. Like, I bet I don't use Lyft because I know that on balance, if I open Uber and request a ride somewhere, it's going to be there sooner than Lyft. Like, I don't price shop. I just do Uber because it's easy. So you're going to ask people to actually start using multiple apps, which is a consumer behavior that a lot of people won't quickly adopt. I mean, you're ignoring the regulatory stuff, which I feel like I keep saying is going to be a bigger challenge than you're just assuming that this will all happen, which I don't think is a good assumption. So I don't know. It just depends.
Okay, so
What
just
did he
I know.
say? What did he say? Can you summarize what he said, Nick?
To summarize what he said is essentially before he could put anything to it, he needs to see regulatory approval. Something happened with regulatory approval.
If
And that's
you're
kind of been
cutting
his
price by
case.
half, adoption is gonna be wide. Is it gonna be fast?
I think you're overstating that a little. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people can do to find better deals on the internet, but they don't because they have deeply ingrained, consumer behaviors. I buy a ton of shit off Amazon. I'm sure I could go somewhere else and maybe it'd be cheaper, but I don't because I just do Amazon. And I'm not I'm a relatively digitally native person, but I'm just saying people aren't always out there shopping for the absolute best deal. They're going into the
Yeah, well, if it's half off for similar or better quality, that's gonna be wide adoption fast.
You think everyone
Like
deletes
Amazon,
and just
Amazon is not half off.
now on? Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's some commodity services, sure. If it's available at the same time, like a few minutes, maybe even a few minutes, couple of minutes, longer wait. Even
Well,
if that's the case, like
well, that
most
would
of the
definitely be
miles.
the case, and that would definitely turn some people off. If you're in like a rural location, there's probably not a Tesla there, but there's probably an Uber there.
All right, Tesla Yoda, fun news. Tesla
Hold on,
Lee,
hold
then
on.
Michael.
I had some follow-ups.
Okay, follow up.
Okay, so are you saying like, because that adoption, in my opinion, would be pretty quick. So pretty quick that you wait 1 quarter and that income statement's already kind of blowing up. So and that was kind of my point. It's going to happen. The adoption is going to happen so quickly, in my opinion, and in your opinion, you can't put anything to that until you have regulatory approval.
Yeah, here are things that I'm thinking about that you're not thinking about. Number one, is it legal to operate Teslas as robotaxis in Boise, Idaho, and Chicago and New York? I mean, that's not a given that you're just seeming to assume, right? Number two, are the people that have opened up their Uber app 5 times a week to get somewhere for the last decade going to know about this new Tesla thing? Are they going to download it and see that the nearest one is 15 minutes away? So they're like, oh yeah, not worth it. Literally never going to open it again. Are they even going to hear about it? You know, like just the fact that a price exists that's better than another price somewhere else doesn't mean you automatically win. Consumer behavior is a tricky thing, and thinking that you're just going to take over the world because you got like a better product or a better offering isn't how it works. Like distribution is a real
Tesla
challenge.
Yoda, Todd News, then TSLA, then Michael.
Yeah, I agree that getting people to adopt something new is difficult. If you look at Netflix, let's say you're very familiar with Netflix today, for Prime Video or for another streaming service to get you to pay them a subscription to use their service, it's an uphill battle. And Uber is definitely valuable because of that today. Now, there's many tactics of how a platform or network gets going. It's difficult, but one is to incentivize the host or the supply side, and from a demand side to focus in and hone in on certain markets or geos first, such as airports, where you could get a critical mass of density. Now, aside from all that, so agreed there, it's difficult. Aside from all that, it's worth noting that Tesla has a fleet of existing owners and the ability to carry out a referral program. So, for example, if I own a Model Y and I would like to add my car to the network and that I'm in a jurisdiction that has been approved for that, what I can do is to invite my friends and families first. And that is a much easier conversation or sell, if you will, to get people to trial that service. And you could see how the network effect can go from there.
Thank you, Yoda. Todd News.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about this Robotaxi network. And in the case that it is profitable, I do believe that owners would sign up for it. My big question is, suppose that you want to have a ride and you request an Uber, and let's say it's half off because Robotaxi is cheaper. Do you think that someone would get into a Tesla if it had no driver? Like, what's the timeline for that to happen? Because currently it's 134 miles per critical disengagement. So I'm just wondering, is anyone going to be comfortable enough to just like go in to a Tesla
Well,
without a driver?
let's assume for a second that the technology is there and just as safe as human, if not better, drive. Okay, so we're just focusing on consumer adoption type of topic. Tesla.
So that Airbnb model everybody's talking about is the Turo model, and if you don't, there's tons of Teslas on there, and if you don't think that if Tesla gave you more money than Uber did or that Turo did, that people wouldn't flock to the Tesla app if they know they were getting more and it was a seamless transaction. They can add their insurance policy on. It could be cheaper for the insurance policy if you have that, or if you have FSD running. So I think the vertical integration is where I think people will adopt it quicker because they'll go over there. And if it's cheaper for the end user as well, I mean, Uber didn't make a lot of money initially. They were giving rides very cheaply. So Tesla could maybe not make a ton of money starting out and pass the savings on to the customer and the host.
Michael, Grant, Peter.
Yeah, my point is a bit stale, but I'll make it anyway. Um, First of all, I found it funny when Grant was saying, "I don't price shop." That was a real flex, if you ask me. I definitely price shop. A lot of people I know price shop, but I'm in my late 20s, so. But anyway, I find it interesting. The Bears are never going to be convinced of the Robotaxi future, but I do think that Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, said at some point that he believes they'll get there eventually. So that's something. But I agree also with Yaman that the Bear argument that Grant presented was just so weak. the bear thesis is that was presented was basically like you're shorting and you're looking in the rear view mirror while steering the car. Like 95% sure is where the car 95% of revenue or profit is from car business. But when the energy business is growing so fast, when they're getting these FSD subscriptions that are contributing billions of dollars at this point, and subscriptions and purchases together, I think it's unwise to ignore all of that, even if you don't believe Robotaxi is going to happen, even if you believe Robotaxi is going to take many more years. And you do have to price that in anyway if you believe it happens eventually. So like that bear argument is kind of weak. And then overall, the vehicle, the cyclicality of the business, the auto business, it's an interesting point, but we're at a low in the cycle, and Tesla's still printing $1 billion, even as they're over the past 12 months, even as they're spending like drunken sailors on this AI initiative. So like other car companies are not doing so well on cash flow. So
Michael cut off. Peter, then Matthew.
So there's this concept in technology that people always overestimate how technology is going to evolve in the near term and kind of underestimate how it's going to evolve in the long term, right? And I think that's the tragic flaw that bears make, is that they just assume everything has to be perfect like tomorrow for anything to work, right? Well, technology never works that way. So it's a slow adoption, it's a slog, it's long hours, but all of those little things compound over time. And when you give it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, then it just becomes normal. And all of a sudden you realize that everybody has an iPhone. iPhone wasn't a hit from the day one. The other thing I would like to add is that when people see a car drive itself, right? And I've experimented with this. When people see like a Tesla auto summon, or when you even do a stupid, move a car in a parking slot from one space to another, people lose their mind when they see a car driving by itself. When this actually happens, it will be a game changer.
Thank you, Peter. We have new guests that might be new to the space. So let's give them a welcome. Omar, welcome. Are you, is this the first time you're speaking?
Hey, what's up?
Been a while. It's been like 24 hours since you stopped by. I thought
I
you,
know.
what happened?
I wish I
Everything
could have
okay?
stopped by, but I've been busy.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we are on YouTube. FYI, everybody, YouTube. So no cursing. And we're talking robotaxis. Robotaxi consumer adoption is the topic. Matthew, Grant, Fun News.
Yep. Hey, I just wanted to respond to Grant's comment about essentially networking effect. Grant is saying because Uber has a networking effect, people use Uber as consumers, so drivers use Uber as a way to sell their services, and so people are used to ordering cars through Uber, so it's hard to get them to change. That analogy fails for Uber because if it was actually true, you'd still be taking a taxi. And the only place people actually take taxis anymore is New York City and Las Vegas. But no one in any other city in America has likely taken a taxi in years and years and years. And Grant, if that's not the case for you, and you live in a town like Boise, Idaho, San Francisco, or San Antonio, like let me know the last time you took a taxi in that city. And if it wasn't between the last time you took an Uber and now, then your analogy fails. The analogy works for something like Twitter. Elon had to buy Twitter not because it was a great platform, but because it has users. and people aren't going to move to a better platform, like let's say Threads or Blue Sky or any of those other, Twitter knockoffs, not because they were a subpar technology, but because the users weren't there. So there's no such thing as a networking effect for rideshare. That's Uber proved that, and people flock to the best service at the best price.
Yeah, taxi cabs don't have network effects. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I live in Seattle. We had two major taxi companies that owned the entire market. Uber came in, and those companies went bankrupt in 24 months.
That
So
makes sense to me because taxi cabs don't have network effects. Like,
they
I don't
have
know what to
a
tell
number, 206 call taxi that they've had for 50 years, right? And it took less than 2 years for them to go completely out of business. So everyone was used to calling a taxi the same way for their entire life, and within 2 years, they all changed to not doing it that way. So to think that the same thing wouldn't happen with Tesla, cyber cabs is a little naive.
I don't know if you understand what network effects are, but fine, whatever.
News.
A lot of people are asking the question of when it will happen, but I'm not sure like it will happen if Tesla has this sort of vision only approach. What gives people confidence that it can improve from 137 miles to the Robotaxi level? Because that's over 1,000, I believe 1,000 times just to get to the amount of miles per disengagement in order to be safe enough for Robotaxi. Because right now it's 95%, which is good, but you need to make sure that 100% of rides don't have any intervention at all.
Yeah, no one knows if we're going to get there. I think the bears think we won't get there. The bulls think we will. I don't know if that's really worth discussing. Another point to Grant.
You're not deciding what's worth discussing.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just finish responding to Grant. So the other thing, Grant's point is, consumers use Uber to dial a car. Well, guess what? Uber and Tesla have a very strong relationship. If you're an Uber driver, you can lease Teslas all in, including supercharger and insurance for a subsidized rate. Uber already partners with Waymo. You can order Waymo through Uber in certain cities. There's no reason to think Uber would not extend that same relationship to Tesla.
Yeah, is that your baby, Matthew?
It's probably one of them.
Good man. I'm actually curious on it though, because I don't know. Like, is the thesis that Tesla's ride-hailing network may actually be a component of Uber in the future? Is that?
Yeah, so we're gonna explore all that one by one. Michael, and then I'm gonna go to Omar.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to FUD News's question about the vision approach and why we think it will work. Well, first of all, the V12, what we have right now, is the result of imitation learning of the best human drivers. They haven't yet spun. We haven't seen the results of the data flywheel spinning, and that's why the CFO was or sorry, not the CFO. That's why Ashok, the head of Autopilot, was talking about the data flywheel of all of this disengagement data coming in, and they're using that to train future models. And the disengagement data for V12 just started coming in a few weeks ago. They're not going to have software yet that incorporates all of those disengagements. So the V12 architecture with 100 or so miles per critical disengagement is just from the first iteration of imitation learning before they spin the data flywheel of feeding all those disengagement data back into the training.
Okay. Omar, let me ask you two questions. One, what gives you are you 100% certain that FSD with vision only will actually get to the level of Waymo with LIDAR and do so nationwide? Okay. And then number two question is about Matthew's Tesla playing a role in Uber network partner with Uber instead of competing with Uber? Because I've actually seen that suggested by a number of people throughout the last couple of days.
You know, people debating whether this is going to happen or not still just has started sounding unbelievably stupid to me. Like, you have to understand, I've been in my car all day driving around. I drove 107 miles, and out of that, less than half a mile I was driving manually, probably parking or something. It did everything, and it did it without intervention. Now they've got a 12.4 and a 12.5 that they're working on that aren't ready to go out yet. And from what I understand, talking to people who've tried it, the 12.5 just doesn't make mistakes ever. Like, it's just crazy good. I mean, I don't like, it's starting to be superhuman. Like, about 5 to 10 times today, it noticed and reacted to things before I did, right? Like, I'm looking at the right side of the crosswalk, and there's somebody there, and they stop and they wait and they motion for me to go. And I go, okay. And the car starts moving and then it stops again. And I go, wait, why is it stopping? Then someone like approaches from the left side of the crosswalk. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even see that person. They weren't even in my view, but the car already responded to it. And you're seeing that just happen more and more. And you just realize, okay, this thing has superhuman perception and it's going to be safer than a human because it can actually see and respond to things faster than I can. And I've spent a lot of time in Waymo, spent a lot of time in a cruise. It's clear this thing has just completely leapfrogged those systems. It's gone from being far worse to actually better, able to drive in more areas, but able to do driving maneuvers more smoothly. Like, I've noticed this sort of roboticness in the Waymo, it making these sort of mistakes that are becoming more and more rare on FSD. So I'm pretty much 100% convinced that they can drive a car with just computer vision. The proof is out there for anyone to try. You know, you can download a car, sorry, you can download the software on any car and you can try it out for yourself and you can kind of see what's happening. It's getting really difficult to argue that this won't work.
Grant, then Peter, then no hands mode.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at Omar's characterization, which is basically looking both ways is superhuman. Like, I guess, man, it's probably something you should
Yes,
have been
it
doing.
is. Humans
You
can
do
only
a
look
great
one
job
way.
telling these stories, but it's always like I bubble it down in my mind and I'm like, actually, that's not particularly amazing. Like, but get everybody excited, whatever.
It, I mean, it can look in every direction at the same time. It can move over, and you go, huh, why is it moving over to the left? Then a motorcycle comes and passes you. So the perception has actually less blind spots than a human. We've, spent so much time picking apart the perception system and saying, is it good enough? What we didn't realize is actually having cameras facing every direction gives it a better field of view than we have. And that allows it to make better decisions in many cases than we can. Like, it's starting to be like the perfect driver. And I don't think, people's expectations, it was so bad, right? It was worse than the worst driver. And people sort of dismiss it. Okay, it's a toy. And as it's improved, it's gone from being worse than human to now starting to be better than human. And everything just sort of flips, right? It's really crazy to see in person, like that change where it's starting to cross that line. You can really see it if you drive it every day.
Peter, then Yoda.
Hey, Grant, the real question is, what is your risk tolerance? Because it sounds like you prefer to invest in these boring businesses like
No,
club
let's
fitness.
let's stick with the current Grant
Yeah,
is only here to kind of just point out the weaknesses in the bull thesis.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I do
hoping
want
one
to
day.
say, in passing, I work in VC. I don't have a low risk tolerance.
Yoda.
Yeah, I think Grant, the reason why Omar sounds very, with high conviction that this is gonna happen is because I think he's had experience with multiple iterations of FSD, and that allows Omar to sort of draw this line based on the pace, the slope of improvement, to understand that this is possible. This is no different from, let's say, you looking at a brand new young driver for the first time, seeing the mistakes, then seeing them improve the next 6 months, then the next 6 months, and the next 6 months, and if you had to make a call whether this young driver is going to become a seasoned driver, you might say yes with high conviction. And so I think that's what's happening. And for myself, who has seen that progression, that is definitely the case. Now, it is very difficult to know exactly when that threshold is hit. If you were to ask people within, outside of the immediate OpenAI development community, and if you ask them, just several months before OpenAI had its ChatGPT moment, I don't think anyone would, educated in the field of AI would have guessed that it was possible. That's why no one acquired OpenAI. Now, from the inside, why didn't they sell OpenAI? Is because they thought with high conviction that it was possible, and that they don't want to sell the technology out now. And so I think Omar is just saying that we are literally at that moment of the ChatGPT moment when it comes to FSD. We don't know exactly which month that's going to fall, but it's definitely coming.
Cyclone.
Yeah, I just want to back up what Omar is saying. So I've been driving FSD 11 point whatever it was back in the day, about a couple of months ago, and one day it just drove different, and it felt like what version 12 is right now, but I didn't know that at the time. And today I'm driving to work. I had a typical drive, FSD 12.3.4, hesitated a couple of times, but it did great on the way to work. Then coming home, it was a completely different drive around 8 o'clock at night. This thing drove very intentional. So something is going on where they just switch up the software on the same version and it feels completely different. So the way that thing drove home today, it's incredible. It did not hesitate at all. And we're talking about the highway stack. So, on local streets, on city streets, it drives great, right? The highway stack, something happened with the highway stack where I was coming up a major highway on I-85 here in Georgia, and it was just incredible. So I feel like that's coming down the pike next. This feels like, I guess, what Elon is talking about, 12.4 feels like. So with that, I have the conviction that this thing is growing quickly and fast. So just want to share that with the guys.
Thank you. Great. We have, what I like about these kind of late night spaces or weekend spaces is that people who can't do it during the day can join us, which is great. This space is also live on YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, please smash that like button. It does help spread the word. Omar had his hand up, and then Josh.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay. Josh, welcome back to the space. It's nice to have you. It's been a while.
Yeah, nice to be on here. Always a great space, and man, it has grown since I've been on here. You're famous now, brother. But
yeah, you have to refer to me as the Mr. Host now.
Absolutely, man. Well, we're neighbors now because I'm living in Austin as of tonight. So.
Oh yeah, where'd you move?
Man, just landed. I just hopped on here to share with you guys that 10 minutes before leaving Toronto, downloaded the $99 subscription of FSD on my Plaid, and drove all the way from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to the Gigafactory completely on
No way.
FSD. Yeah, yeah,
What?
and I drove nonstop. Like I guess I stopped. I had to stop in the supercharger in, I guess, Little Rock, Arkansas, and I slept for like 2 hours. So I basically made 29, 30-hour drive on about 2 hours of sleep.
That is wild.
It is a total game changer, man. Like crazy. Like, okay, so no, I guarantee nobody's done this, but when you get sleep deprived, you miss details, right? So you're going to miss your exit. You're going to miss reading a street sign, being in the right lane, merging, whatever. The car does everything. It takes out all of your fatigue, all of your stress. I'm literally sitting there, and I was telling my sister about it today on the phone as I'm driving down. And she's like, "Oh," I'm describing to her their experience of just sitting there and watching the yoke move, and it's changing lanes and going around, accelerating around slow trucks and everything. And she's like, "Oh," she's like, "That sounds like you're riding the train." And I was like, "Holy crap, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You're turning these cars. It's just riding the train. You just input your destination, and that's you know, get your ticket, and away you go. That's your Robotaxi network right there. It's just the train on like a micro scale, an individual scale." So it just really opened my eyes over the last, 48 hours, basically. I did a FaceTime call with my 87-year-old grandfather. He has a 2019 Model X, which they have enhanced autopilot on. And I checked, they're in Canada, and it's only 2,750 Canadian dollars for them to purchase FSD now with the recent price reduction. And if they were to do the subscription, he has to take the car in and spend 1,500 Canadian dollars and get the new cameras and the hardware and all of that. So it's a no-brainer, because in 1 year, it's paid for. $99 a month is $1,200, plus the original 15 is $2,700. So they just outright purchase it. And yeah, he was just completely blown away. He's like, I want to hang on to my license as long as possible. And the full self-driving, he's like, that's going to help me do it. So they're ordering it tomorrow to put on their Model X. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. That's
it's crazy,
great.
man. Like,
Yeah,
just
hell of a ride.
for the seniors as well, like allowing people to drive longer. I'm sure that's been brought up, but
Yeah. Where
it's
did
real
you
life.
move into in Austin?
So we're in Lakeway. Yeah, so we're just
Oh,
on the west
nice.
side. Yeah, just past Bee Cave.
Mhm.
So yeah, nice spot, man. Hill country. It's unreal out here.
All right, great.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll see you around town. Anyways, I do have to run. Kids are going crazy here, but I just want to come on and share that real briefly about that drive on FSD.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Okay, guys, have a
And
good
welcome to Austin. Take care.
one. Thanks, bro. We'll see you around town. Bye-bye.
All right. The speaker board thinned out. What just happened? We lost Matthew, lost Omar. I got FUD news. We lost Grant. Grant said, F this. I'm out of here. This is too bullish. He's back. Grant, did you give up on being a bear?
I'm on board. Elon is the, future of humanity. Let's go.
FUD news. Do you still have your puts?
I don't feel as confident given the rise, but of course, I feel like the valuations seem a bit absurd given the decrease in EPS. But yes, I remain that way. Yes.
I lost a lot of money the last couple of days. If you guys want to gloat about that.
No, it's okay. Peter Timble.
Hey Grant, so you mentioned you and VC. You don't see many like startup type business inside of Tesla then?
No, I mean, I think that's a great investor relations play, but I mean, no, not really. I don't buy that narrative. That's not a reality. That's a narrative that Tesla
Are you in bed?
to create. Yeah, I am.
You are in bed, aren't you? Are we in bed with you?
feels weird, but I don't know if you want to be.
It depends. What size is it? I mean, the bed. What size is the bed?
I have a king size bed, which is newer. made the jump recently, which has been good.
Yeah, king size bed is definitely the best. All right. I totally did not go the way I was hoping.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going there.
I don't know. I'm tired too. I'd rather be in bed, but I'm not. Omar, welcome back. What happened?
Well, I think I need to pay attention to my girlfriend, but she's kind of in the bathroom, so I can maybe have a little bit longer.
Go pay attention to your girlfriend. It's all right. Oh, actually, I prefer that people bring their families and partners and girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, kids into the space so that we're all spending time together. You know?
Yeah, I wanted to make her kind of comment on the drives that we did today too. But I don't know, she's kind of busy, so we'll see.
Does she have an X account?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have her hop in here next time. Grant?
I was gonna say it's a great idea, but don't Tesla Bull's girlfriends all go to a different school?
I don't get that joke. Can someone? It's too late for me to get these jokes.
I'm saying you don't have
It's
actual.
like when you were in elementary school and you didn't have a girlfriend, you'd say, "Oh, I have a girlfriend, but like she doesn't go here. She lives in Canada." And
Oh,
you know,
that must be an American thing.
yeah, exactly.
Anything,
American
anything
cultural
before.
reference.
Yeah, I got you. Anything before 2003, I don't. I still struggle sometimes. Pavel.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm not sure if this was asked or not. I would like to know your opinion. What do you think? Like how the adoption of the robotaxi is tied to like cleaning and damaging the car. Because like today, when you have a driver, you either don't do anything there, or as a driver you clean it there. But I think one of the thing is that if you rent your Tesla for a day, you don't want to get it returned dirty when you want to go home. So like, do you think this will be some trouble in like getting this adopted, or there will be some, let's say, some new services popping up to clean your car when it is robotaxing?
Yeah, I mean there are those services right now. As an Uber driver, I mean Tesla can tell you. I think it's like what $40-$50 a month. You get a bunch of different. All you can clean basically, right, Tesla?
Yep, it's only $20 a month per car.
$20 a month. How do they make money?
Yep, and free vacuums too. So you wash it. They have even the towels that are there. You use their towels to dry it, and then free vacuums. You vacuum it up, and you're done in 20 minutes.
Are they banking on people just not coming and using it?
I would say so, but Southern California, I mean, the weather is nice here. A lot of people wash their cars.
Well, there you go, Pavel.
So does it mean like we expect that the car will just like go to the washing station alone?
Yeah. Yeah, makes
Get
sense, right?
itself washed and then go away. Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah,
Or
it
maybe
could, and then
Optimus
they
will do
can.
it.
Well, they can hire more a cleaning crew that will vacuum the car for the driver. And maybe that costs, $50 instead of 20 for that whole service. So they're actually needing to increase their employee count. They're making more money. It's a convenient for us, and it's a win-win.
And what about some internal damage to the car that would be caused by the people? Well, like does it mean that you need some proof of how the car was before and how
Well, the
it
car
goes
has
after the
internal
lock.
cameras too. The car has external internal cameras as well.
But I don't think the internal camera sees everything, right?
Let me ask you something. So it says you're a software engineer. What kind of software engineering do you do?
I work for Amazon. I do control plane for our AWS RDS service.
Gotcha. Actually, while we have Omar and you on the board, Omar, what do you think about Ashok's comments or Elon's comments around distributed inference compute using the car's FSD computer when the cars are not moving, when they're idle, so it doesn't, you're sort of wasting that capacity using for distributed inference.
Yeah, obviously, not all of the workloads that you put in a data center like AWS are going to work, but certain batch processing workloads that need to run a model that can run on the inference computer, there could be a market for that potentially.
So earlier we talked about this quite a bit, Omar. You weren't here, but Wes and I and a couple others in the afternoon session. If you guys want to watch that section, I highly recommend it. It's about 1 hour. It's at the beginning of today's. You can go to YouTube or listen to it on X. And a couple of the assumptions we made, Omar, were price per inference. We assumed 1 cent. And we assumed potential inference requests in the billions per day. Does that sound about right to you? Order of magnitude?
I don't know. It's a little bit early to say. I
Yeah.
don't think we have a lot of this type of distributed inference job as a service that's offered today. So how people would choose to use it is a little unclear, and they might design specifically for that type of service. But I mean, typically, if you wanted to rent some inference compute, you would just go to AWS and get a GPU instance.
Yeah, exactly. We would be competing with AWS. But Wes's argument was that the FSD computer in the cars is optimized for inference, whereas data centers aren't always as optimized for inference. They can also be used for training. So maybe FSD computer might have some cost advantage for inference. Is that correct?
GPU instances tend to be very expensive, so there could potentially be a cost savings. But of course, your network is going to be intermittent compared to a data center, which has very high reliability networking. Your bandwidth is going to be limited compared to a data center, which has, obviously everything a data center has. So not all types of jobs are going to be suited for it. If you have a job that requires a lot of IO, then that's not going to be well suited. If, there needs to be like job failure, someone you dispatch a job and someone ends up not completing the job or something, you got to redispatch it. But, certain types of jobs potentially could be suited for it, like, some type of batch processing in the background or something like that.
Yeah. And do you think Grok would be the first and biggest customer of Tesla's distributed inference compute?
I don't think that Grok would be well suited to it. Number one, the largest Grok model that they have to run, I'm not sure that would fit on the inference computer. Maybe, some future generation of it. But the largest Grok model would probably be something that you want to inference in a data center. And then obviously, when you have a user providing a request and they need a response right away, you want something that has high uptime and availability. You don't want to have to deal with, dispatching the job to some distributed car and having it process it and get the response back. There's also like privacy and questions like that. But if there were some type of Grok batch job, like if you were to say, hey, Grok, tomorrow I want you to read the news, read the Wall Street Journal and tell me if there's any news stories about horses or whatever. And, I want you to execute this job later. And a smaller version of the Grok model that could run on the inference computer was sufficient. Then you could potentially download that model onto one of the inference computers. You could download the prompt that needs to be executed. You could execute that sort of background job and return a response if, the user isn't waiting or something like that. So something like that, or, some type of other job where you need inference, but it doesn't need a response right away. It can be kind of handled in a distributed fashion and you could come back to it. Something like that might work, but they're a little bit building a new market that doesn't exist here.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of years to go and execution risk, strategy risk, a bunch of different steps we have to go through. TSLA?
Yeah, couldn't maybe the city hire Tesla to take video data of their potholes all around? Maybe that would save them money. Hey, take a video of location of where all the potholes are. That'll save the city time from having to go search for them. And then, another thing I thought of, I don't even know if this would be possible. I don't really know how compute works, but can't you? It's gonna sound crazy. One day during Christmas, I really wanted to see a bunch of Christmas lights around town. Couldn't somehow they aggregate the data from all the video to see where the best Christmas lights are around town, aggregate it, and take you on an FSD drive to see all the cool Christmas lights around town? I think that'd be something that could possibly be done with all that compute power.
All right. I don't think that's quite the same thing, but Omar's gone. His girlfriend probably finished what she was doing, and he has to pay attention to his girlfriend now. So he left us. And Nick. Nick is paying attention to his wife.
I'm paying attention.
Oh, you are? Where's your wife?
We just had to wrap the thing around the baby.
Oh. When's
The
she gonna come here
swaddle.
into this? When is she gonna come to the space?
She's on.
No, in her account.
She just follows my stuff.
Can we hear the baby?
Yeah, listen.
That's a quiet baby.
He's sucking on the nipple.
Oh, okay. Peter, what do you think? In the replies, let's see. 13 said inference cost savings could be no need for cooling and heat management. I was just about to ask that to Omar. Let's go.
I don't know about this whole, using your inference in the car. It sounds like a long shot. Nothing's going to be material in near term for at least 3 years. Maybe in 5 years we might see something, but I wouldn't put any value from it into the stock evaluation at this point.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak if you are expertise in the area. Feel free to request to speak and put in your 2 cents. This is a topic that came out a couple of times in recent Tesla events, and I don't think we understand it quite well just yet, but we'll get there. So if you can share your expertise, I would appreciate that.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, so I guess my question was, should Tesla consider, improving their camera systems. I know with the Cybertruck, they have the washer fluid, right? But I'm thinking like when you get into cold weather situations, like should you have a heating element, or even like air supply or something to defog the cameras, when you run into like issues with weather. I'm thinking they might need to rethink, those aspects of the camera. And then my other,
Well, I mean, they think about these things a decade ago. You know, like you're not the only one kind of thinking about snow on cameras.
yeah, I'm just thinking, with full self driving, the cameras are very critical if you're gonna go with the vision approach. So, you want to make sure that that's on point. But my other question, I guess, I wanted to kind of pose to everybody was the thoughts around like, at this point having like a virtual assistant in the car, with Grok and everything that they have going on. What's your thoughts there? I mean, I feel like we're behind with that.
Yeah, I think eventually that will happen, but like in a way, you can talk to your car today, right? You can talk to your phone, you can talk to your car, and I think these assistants will get smarter over time. Mishka.
Yeah, so bringing back to the little kind of mentioning the topic of assistance, and then I'll have a question. I honestly like, and I want to know everybody else's opinion on this. Wouldn't it be just so cool if Tesla just had like an interior Jarvis? Like I'm talking like full Iron Man Jarvis, like Jarvis. I think that'd be so awesome. That's the first thing. And then I have a question about the stock, more or less like what people's perspective on it is. Does it sometimes ever feel like a complete like hype roller coaster, at least as of right now, to where it's like there's a lot of stuff that's said, and right now the plan, honestly, that was released over on the website, that's the most amount of transparency I think that we've seen in a while. But does it still sometimes feel like a complete like hype roller coaster to where it's like if people are happy, the stock is high. If people are unhappy, it just runs down.
Welcome to investing.
I was gonna say that's like all stocks. Well, I think even more so than that for Tesla, there's quite a bit of call and put option trading, which creates delta hedging swings as well. So it's just exaggerated for Tesla more so than other stocks. Either and then Dylan.
Can I change the topic?
Let's get Dylan's quick comments first, and then we'll change topics. Dylan.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the cameras and the defrosting and everything, a lot of the cameras are defrosted when the cabin is defrosted. So it's like if the cabin's warm, the cameras are warm. If you go, there's a lot of videos of the cameras actually melting away ice. And then Elon said Grok was coming soon to cars. I'm pretty sure in a reply.
Yeah. Peter. Peter, give me 1 second. I need to switch out of Wi-Fi to cellular. Give me 1 second. Can you hear me, Peter?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Go ahead.
So first thing, to address the camera issue, there are already third-party aftermarket solution so that you can put over the camera to prevent them from fogging up or getting like dirt, debris, and residue on them. I think I don't want to promote a specific brand, but if you Google it, you will find it. There's even one company that makes a aftermarket hookup to your windshield washers that will spray the rear camera to clean it. And you can also Google it and you will find it easily. And I'm sure when this becomes a actual issue for Tesla, they will find a solution and implement it out of the box for the cars. So I wouldn't worry about things like that have been sold by many other manufacturers in the past. So the topic I want to talk about is CATL. We discussed the new CATL battery earlier in the
Well, Waymo solves the camera issue with wipers, right? They don't do a couple of the things that you mentioned. They have a physical solution. I mean, they're both physical, I guess, but they actually have physical wipers in front of the camera, right?
Yeah, sure. I don't know about Waymo, but yeah, I remember, back in the 90s, cars used to have like wipers on the lights, like old Volvos used to have it in Mercedes, and that was abandoned, and now they just have like, windshield washers. So there are multiple ways of addressing this issue, and I'm sure something will be figured out, right?
Okay. And your
Anyway,
next question?
So earlier in the previous session, you guys discussed the new Carol battery, but they also announced a whole skateboard solution for EVs that includes a battery pack, a steer-by-wire, brake-by-wire, and electronic suspension. Did you guys talk about that? And are there any
No.
experts to talk about that?
We haven't talked about that. That sounds like a good topic for tomorrow.
Okay, great. In the past, the skateboards have never been successful. There were other manufacturers that attempted this, and nobody else has ever done this. So it would be interesting to see what experts are saying about this particular version of this.
Okay. Can you tag me on that? And I'll check it out, and then we can discuss it in tomorrow's afternoon.
Sure.
Mishka, then Brandon, and then we're going to call it.
Thank you. I wanted to also ask one question back on an older topic. Do people have problems with the windshield? Not with the windshield. Sorry, with the camera fogging up. And that I'm asking before, like my other topic, but because I've heard a few people mention that. Is that like a thing on older models, or is that like a new issue, or is that just like people more or less like talking about like let's prevent it before it happens? Because I don't think my car's ever like fogged up.
Yeah, no, I've never seen a problem with it with our 3 cars. I'm not sure.
Okay. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of cars in like the Nordic countries, so if there's any issues with like ice, they'll figure it out. I was gonna just kind of like speculation, but I think I read earlier that they're raising $6 billion at an $18 billion valuation for XAI. Any speculation on like if that's just based off of Grok or anything else they're working on, if that's going to integrate into Tesla, as you just said, anything like that?
Yeah, I saw one more post or somebody asked me about it. I didn't know the numbers, but let me look into it and we can talk about it tomorrow. What do you think?
I mean, the purpose of XAI, from what I understand, is to find like the fundamental truth of the universe. So I don't know how you monetize that specifically. Besides large language models, I believe OpenAI's valuation is $80 billion, which I don't really know, or sorry, like $80 trillion if you ask Sam Altman. But I don't really know how they come to these valuations exactly. I don't know how they're monetizing Grok. I mean, the only way you can use it is if you're a X premium member. So I don't know if.
Well, that's how they're monetizing.
Yeah, but I don't really understand like what cut of that I guess XAI gets because it's a separate company than X. So I don't really there's no information about their revenue stream.
Ask Grant. He's a VC. He can answer how they value different startups.
Did you ask Grok itself?
I did not. He said ask Grant, I think, right? Grant, do you have an answer?
Yeah, he did say Grant, but just ask Grok instead.
Or how much are you worth, Grok?
How do you value yourself? I'll do it right now. Do you have Grok?
I do, but I'm in the middle of the Everglades somewhere driving, so I can't look.
Yeah, I'll do it. How much are you worth?
He's probably just gonna read off the tweets from you earlier. He's probably gonna say like humans value me at this much. If you have him on like fun mode, he'll say something
Well,
like
don't put words in Grok's mouth, sir. Well, I'm priceless, of course. But if you're talking about my net worth, I'm afraid I'm not publicly traded AI. So I don't have a precise number to give you. However, if I were to go by my vast knowledge and wit, I'd say I'm worth at least a few million laughs. There you go. That's actually pretty good. Let's look at the regular mode. Let's see. How do I want to ask this? If I were to invest in XAI, what would be the valuation?
I mean, if they're raising $6 billion, I imagine a lot of that's going to be used to buy GPUs. So that'll be pretty interesting.
If you were to invest in XAI, the reported valuation of the company as of April 2024 is $18 billion. This valuation is based on a recent fundraising round where XAI is nearing a deal to raise $6 billion. It's important to note that this information is based on the latest reports and may be subject to change as more information becomes available. XAI, and then it provides for those of you who don't use Grok, it provides the tweets on which it's basing its answer. So a couple of the tweets I can read to you. XAI is reportedly raising $6 billion, Sequoia Capital and other VCs at an $18 billion valuation. Like Brandon just said. 20 employees, value per employee, $900 million, somebody said. Since X owns about 25% of XAI, does that mean the valuation of X is up by $4.5 billion?
Yeah, I find this extremely interesting because knowing Elon, large language models are incredibly boring. They don't. I mean, cool. I mean, they're useful, but they're boring. Like they don't do anything very cool. So they're gonna try solving some very hard problems in like mathematics and physics and um,
Yeah, I wouldn't
general AI.
jump to conclusions like that just because they raised. I mean, I'm sure they will, but not because they're raising money on an $18 billion valuation like Rivian.
No, I'm not tying them together.
Excuse me. Rivian was worth $150 billion. Rivian raised as much money as Tesla ever raised. Okay. And now it's worth zero, and they sold no problems. Grant? All right, Grant doesn't want to talk. He's not a Rivian bear. He's only a Tesla bear. Brandon?
No, Grant would say that Rivian's going to the moon. But no, Rivian. Someone talked to me about Rivian about 3 years ago. They're like, Rivian's going to take over Tesla. I'm like, I don't think so, but okay. Anyways, no, I wasn't tying them together. I was saying that I don't think they're related, but I think Grok is, or not Grok, XAI is very interesting because it's an Elon company, and it's doing something different than all the other companies that he has. So I figure it's going to be much more interesting than a large language model. So I wonder what they're setting up for, what they have in mind for the future. That's all. And I also I think about this a lot too, the legality of Elon integrating a lot of his companies together. I don't know how they look at that. Like, it seems like a lot of I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I'd like to ask like Ken about that or something.
Peter, any thoughts on the topic?
About integrating all these different companies, not really.
No, about XAI raising money.
I haven't seen that news yet, so I'll try to look into it. I would be interested.
I think it's just a headline. $6 billion, raising $6 billion on an $18 billion valuation. So, just kind of question becomes like, what do they need $6 billion for? And obviously, they're buying GPUs, right?
Well, of course. I mean, with startup valuations, it's very nebulous, right? It just kind of a lot of it is hype. What is a certain market space doing? Do you know the founders, etc.? Have they been successful before? So there's a lot that goes into it, and all of these metrics are very imprecise, right? Like during the hype cycle, you can have startups that can raise a lot of money just based on a PowerPoint. They don't really have anything working, or they don't even have customers. Obviously, OpenAI has customers, right? So they're worth something. But that doesn't mean that they're actually profitable, right? So there's a lot to it that is way different with publicly traded companies.
Okay, I brought up Lord Pretty Flacco because he posted a thread about this very topic, and I pinned it at the top of our screens. If you want to check it out. Lord, would you like to walk us through this email that you got?
Yeah, sure. I posted there. This was from early April. I was invited to invest into XAI. At the time, interestingly enough, they're raising at a 20 billion valuation, and they're trying to raise 3 billion total. And so there's some allocation there that I actually chose not to participate because I'm obviously all in on Tesla, much more interested in that. I don't know if I'm going to walk through the thread, but I mean, people can kind of check out the investment memo that was there. It wasn't anything too groundbreaking, but there were some interesting tidbits and charts there. But I think most of this is public. It was just kind of synthesized in this investment memo that I posted into the thread. So.
Okay, so nothing popped out at you in this thread.
I mean, I think XAI is really interesting. I think in Walter Isaacson's book, he mentioned that Elon now has access to 2 gushers of real-time data at scale, right? One of which is Tesla's fleet, which is obviously proprietary. And then you have Twitter, which is 550 million users of real-time data. So these are 2 very powerful data sets that are proprietary. And Elon is very cutting edge when it comes to AI. Obviously helped found OpenAI. I think he's obviously going to do something really interesting. I don't have the expertise to be able to extrapolate far enough into the future to understand the opportunity fully. So for me, I'm sticking to real world AI. I'm very bullish on that. But XAI is very interesting. And you guys can go through the thread. It's a pretty short read. It's nothing too crazy, but yeah.
Brandon.
So he fires everybody from XAI. He uses it among the rest of the companies, and he takes the world into Mars. That's my theory.
We did not hear anything you said. Your connection is really bad. All right, Lord, I will actually ask you to kind of maybe talk about this tomorrow afternoon in our usual space, if you don't mind. And Peter, we're going to talk about what topic. You're going to tag me on a post about the question you asked, right?
I already did tag the last post you had.
Okay, perfect. CATL new skateboard chassis. Okay, perfect. Oh, we actually talked about, we had Jordan in afternoon space today, but he talked about the battery. So this is more of a
Yes.
skateboard. Okay.
Yeah, I think there are 2 different products. One is the battery, and they also announced, I think it was perhaps buried in that presentation, they also announced the skateboard, which is
Okay, great.
slightly more interesting to me, because
Okay,
I'm
let's
wondering,
talk.
like, would like legacy OEMs try to adapt that?
Okay, let's talk about that tomorrow. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will chat with you next time. Take care.